Welcome back to What's Up. Welcome back to...
Let me do this, honey. Okay, ready?
Oh, you want to do it?
If you fuck up, I get to try. And if I fuck up, you get to try.
Okay, go. Don't fuck up.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 5 of Told As Is. I'm your host, Daniella Vona.
And I'm Ryan Megson.
And today we're going through a day in the life of a realtor. We're also going to answer a few questions that we've received over time about the podcast. And then we're going to end off with a little game of overrated or underrated. Let's dive in.
Roll the intro music.
Now, I'm all bundled up because I'm super cold, but other than the fact that I have no heat or hot water, I did have a win today. My win is that my buyer's deal got accepted.
Woohoo!
Yay! So I'm trying to fuel my body to stay warm because my weekend, not on a good start.
And we talk about day in the life, like you were literally writing back the offer as we were starting the podcast. So day in the life of a realtor is very unpredictable. You could be
spontaneous.
You could have as much planning done as you want, but you are doing what you need to be doing when it needs to be done.
Yeah, totally. And I always tell people, and I tell myself too, when it's in the calendar, respect your time. Mm-hmm. But you also have an obligation to your clients. So we were going back and forth in a counter from last night, and it all had to get done in a crunch before noon. So thank you for postponing the podcast a little bit and accommodating my clients. Thank you. We're all excited.
Well, congratulations to you and your clients. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, so we got the deal done. And at the same time, I cut into my time blocked schedule, but that's the day in the life of a realtor. And, you know, speaking about podcasts, like we're really enjoying it. Do you have any tips at this point now, Ryan, for anyone who has asked about podcasting? Because I know we've had direct reach out. Mm-hmm. And what are a couple things you would offer to someone who's interested in also doing a podcast?
Yeah, good question. I think first and foremost, doing a podcast is so much more difficult than it seems.
Yeah.
And you actually require so much more time and energy and skill going into actually releasing episodes that you're happy to do with, or at least for us. So, you know, we're both perfectionists and we want things to be a certain quality, and we're not comfortable putting things out that aren't, you know, bringing some kind of value or doing some kind of entertainment. And if it's all cut up really badly, then, you know, we probably wouldn't be doing it. So getting started into it is just kind of get everything in line, know exactly what it is that you want to do, and find the easiest way to do that without spending $1 million, because, you know, starting out, you don't know what's going to happen, if it's going to take off or whatever it might be. You don't want to spend all this money getting into it just to find out that it's a flop, and you don't want to do it by the end of the day, right?
Absolutely. So for me, the two things, number one is consistency. You have to be consistent. People are expecting content. And number two is you have to have a vision and a plan for it, just like anything else. And if you can have someone along the way with you, like I'm very glad that I've teamed up with you, because you provide more than just being a co-host, but an integral part of publishing this podcast onto several platforms is huge. And you got to believe in it. So consistency. Here we are, week 5. We're not skipping a beat no matter what jumps on our plate. So here we are. And yes, carving out time is huge. I had to reassess my day-to-day real estate life to accommodate the planning, the emails with special guests, and also creating the content with you, and then filming that. You know, you're plugging in. I'm looking at my already tight schedule and I'm just like, where is this going to go? But you make it happen. So
that's very similar with me, but I actually am finding the podcast is kind of setting the tone for how my week is going to go. And it's keeping me accountable too by, you know, having something with somebody else that's relying on you to be there and to do a good job. That's kind of forcing me to keep doing everything else that I need to do with my business as well. That, you know, in my first year of real estate in 2021, I found there was days where I just kind of took a day off here and took a day off there just because I could. I'm now self-employed. No one's keeping me accountable. So now this, you know, being first thing Monday morning, we're filming. We're talking real estate. We're forcing each other to research. It's so good that we are now like just diving into this, and it makes the rest of my week a lot more productive too. So,
oh, that's great to hear. Love it.
So let's get into some fun games, shall we?
Yes. I want to know what's overrated, underrated topics with you. We're just having a casual Monday, but there are some things that, I mean, some might be personal jokes, but so people will learn more about us. But also in the industry, what is overrated? So I'm excited for it. I like games. I'm an activity-based person. So this, when you said, hey, let's do this, I'm game for it. Let's go. I'm going to go first because ladies go first.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to hit you up with vacant land. Boom.
Ooh, that's a big one.
I know. What do you think?
Okay, vacant land. I'm going to say underrated.
Underrated. Okay.
Depending on the use of the property and the location. Because there's a lot of land out there that is not very usable. Like I saw the other day, a new listing came up near me in Aurelia, and it was like 100 acres of land, and it was super cheap, but it was because it was environmentally protected land. So you wouldn't be able to do a whole lot with that, right? But to the right person, that's a adventure hut. It might be a hunting piece of land. You never know.
Yeah.
But I think for personally, like one of my biggest goals is to buy a nice piece of land, a couple acres, and build a custom home on it.
Yes.
And I think it's also super underrated to have somebody design something exactly how you want it. And not to mention, you're only paying material and labor costs of the building. You're not paying the elevated market price. So chances are by the time you finish building your custom home, as long as it's decently and well done, it's probably going to be worth more, and you're going to have some equity from the get-go.
And you can make it however you want. I think that's great. I would agree. You actually did send me a piece of land that was massive, but a large portion, it was like $70,000, and a large portion was underwater. I had a chuckle. I don't think I told you. Yeah, it was so funny. So it's important to know that, you know, if you're buying land, what's the purpose? And also, what are the environmental zoning challenges you may face? But I agree with you. I would love to cottage flip and build something exactly how I want. So, love it.
All right, Daniela, my turn. My first question for you, condos, overrated or underrated?
I love condos. If you're asking me from a sales position like real estate, then yes, super affordable. If you're asking me from a lifestyle position, also love condo living, but it would have to be a large condo, like a penthouse. And I love condo living because it's like a hotel life. You know, you have concierge, feels very secure. If you've got that waterfront view, it's amazing. And you don't have to deal with maintenance in terms of landscaping, snow removal. You have underground parking, which is excellent in Ontario for those winter days. You don't have to brush off your car. And then you have the density of neighbors. I specifically love condo life. When I first left my family's house, I moved into a condo, and I would do it over again as long as it's the condo that suits me, enough space, nice views, etc. So I'm all for the condo life.
Nice. And good point there about having a low maintenance lifestyle. It's not for everybody, but for, you know, a lot of people with busy lifestyles, or, you know, maybe they have physical disabilities, maybe they're retired and they just don't want to deal with snow anymore. It's a great option. And also something we need to talk about in this market is people need to be a little more realistic with their budget and what that achieves them, because so many people want their dream home on the first deal, but a condo is a great way to get into the market. And yeah, first time buyers, it's completely underrated.
I mean, it's great for people, especially that are, you know, first-time home buyers, but working professionals that don't have the time to do stuff, right? Like the maintenance and whatnot. And also you get amenities. So you get the pool, you get the gyms, you get the studio, all that stuff. And that is in itself priceless. People don't want to pay maintenance fees, but I always say you have to pay maintenance fees at your house anyways, in higher utilities, in doing the maintenance work, unless you do it yourself, but time is money. So to me, it's kind of like a wash, but I would live in a condo any day.
Absolutely. All right, you're up.
So my next one is, okay, so maybe you've watched the show mortgage, or marriage? I want to know,
Oof.
are weddings overrated?
100% weddings are overrated. And I'm not saying that from like you shouldn't marry somebody that you love, but compared to buying your first home, if you can buy your first home instead of having a wedding, and say you're spending $30,000 to $50,000 on a wedding, that money is going away because of the wedding.
Yeah.
If you're putting $30,000 to $50,000 down on your first home, that money is going into equity, and you're building more money and appreciation. So you can then have the wedding based on the equity that you build in your home, and you're not going to lose that money. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, man, refinance and have the wedding later. Yeah, I think we're both on the same page that marriage is overrated. Mm-hmm. Spending money on a marriage is overrated.
Yeah, so true. Okay, I'm up. This one, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on. Overrated or underrated? Simcoe County.
Okay, now that I've seen the coffee shops video that you did, the tour, I absolutely would love to come to Aurelia. I mean, I've been there. I just haven't spent a lot of time, but talking to you, you're living the life of Aurelia. Barrie, I'm frequenting. But I think like not a lot of people go to these small towns, and from your video, every single coffee shop that you went in looked so eclectic. It's like better than some of the places that I've seen in Toronto. And I imagine I didn't taste them, but they looked good. And then you also mentioned, you know, you're a walk away from community centers, and it's really close to cottage country as well. So I couldn't live there myself yet, but I feel like Aurelia is underrated. And Simcoe, you know, I know, I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's just from learning.
No, I completely agree. I think that, and my mindset has shifted over the last couple of years too, because we lived in Barrie before we lived in Aurelia, which, for those who don't know, Barrie's about 150,000 people, probably more by now. Aurelia's only 35,000. So, wow. You know, and I said to Caitlin, I said, if we're leaving Barrie, I need to be in a town with at least 100,000 people. I do not want to be in a small town. And that was just like a mindset change that happened when we got here. And I realized just how much community and how just homely it feels here. And compared to Barrie especially, like, I'm going to say, you haven't asked me, but Barrie, I'm going to say, is slightly overrated, especially now with how expensive it is to live there. Yeah. I always felt like everybody living in Barrie was just there to basically stay the night and then go back to their job in the city the next day. Aurelia, people who are living here, they love living here and they want to live here and they work here. You know what I mean? So I agree. Underrated for the most part for Simcoe County.
Aw. And I can't wait to come there and eat at all these fancy restaurants or nice restaurants you're talking about. It's exciting. And your videos are phenomenal. They really highlight Aurelia. So keep that up.
Thank you.
You're going to grow that town. I see it.
Shout out to Liam, Quick Escape Productions. He's my videographer. He does an amazing job.
It's awesome. I want to know, overrated or underrated Reels and TikToks?
Ooh, this is a soft spot with me right now because I'm on the fence, to be honest. I'm on the fence. If you asked me 2 months ago, I would have said heavily underrated. But I personally, I've seen a huge shift in the organic reach that we're starting to see on these platforms, which, you know, for those who follow Gary Vee or anybody else who's in the social media scene, we have seen this coming for a long time. Whenever something is new, whenever Instagram or TikTok roll out a new feature and it's a new thing, they're going to push it out because they want people to do it. And then as soon as everybody's doing it, now you have to start paying for it to be able to actually get, you know, like I was on a mad rush to hit 1,000 followers on TikTok because I wanted to do lives. I had seen other agents doing really well with their lives and getting a lot of business from it.
Yeah.
And now when I go to click on live on TikTok, it says, would you like to promote your live? And you can pay for viewers. And so now just seeing that, I think it's going to be a slightly overrated. But in saying that, there could be new features that come out on these platforms that are going to be heavily underrated.
Yeah, you're right. I feel like anyone who jumped on TikTok, for example, in the get-go really got amazing engagement. Now you're seeing, you know, a couple of views, much less. Like the views are down a lot. So, you know me, I'm more of an Instagram girl, but I'm trying the TikTok thing as well. And I think it's just being consistent again. using the right hashtags. And then when something else comes out, jump on that. Always be the first mover in whatever you're doing.
Okay, Daniella, another one which I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on. Having a nice car as a real estate agent, overrated or underrated?
Okay. When I started the business, I had a cute little Jetta. And then my lease was up and I got myself a nicer car. Got a nice Audi. And you know what? I was always in the beginning like, it doesn't matter, you're picking me, but when your clients see you rolling up like a boss, because that's like luxury items appear like that, they feel that you're doing really well for yourself. And where you're doing really well for yourself, and this also goes with posting on social media and sharing your successes. When you're sharing your successes, people feel like they're attracted to that lifestyle and they feel that you're more knowledgeable. So I don't think every real estate agent needs a nice car. I did it for me. I rewarded myself, and but I'm going electric next. So
Ooh.
yeah, I'm gonna have to get a Tesla next. But I think like just you can do you. But I did feel when I was, when I am showing a really nice property, millions like to a big client, I feel like I gotta look better, dress better, appear better, drive a better car, maybe even show up in like with a driver. You just feel like you have to be at that level talking to them in a way that they understand. It's unfortunate, but it's the name of the game.
I think I'd be on the same wavelength if my situation was different. If I was a solo bachelor, I would be all over the nice vehicle because that's the, appearance that you want to give off as a successful agent. But for me, it's functionality is more important. And you can still have a nice thing and still be functional. I'm not about to be rolling around in a minivan, but, I like to have an SUV with lots of space so the kids' car seats can fit, the dogs can fit in the back, But I definitely do want a nicer vehicle in the future, maybe one that I can use if I'm working with more luxury clients. But I personally think overrated. What do you think? Underrated?
Like neutral, underrated. I mean, I went for function too. When I went to shop for a different vehicle, I said, show me all your trunks. I got to make sure my signs and all my stuff fits in there. Because as real estate agents, that's where we keep it. And I mean, bachelor or not, when I have kids, I can't see myself getting a minivan either. I'm just going to have, maybe more seats in the back, or, daddy's going to have a different car, but mommy's going to still have a nice car because she likes it. She feels good, right? Always do things that feel good for yourself. They can be monetary. They could be not.
Very good.
Okie dokie. So because I know you love branding and because this is so typical of a realtor, I'm going to hit you up with branded calendars. Overrated or underrated?
Are you talking like me dressed as a fireman every month of the year?
No, real estate calendars. If you go to someone's house, anyone over the age of like 45 is more likely to have a calendar of a real estate agent. It may not even be their real estate agent, but because it's a free piece of material that keeps you organized, or it's a physical copy of a calendar, people like it. They keep it on their fridge. So, what do you feel? Overrated or underrated marketing tool for realtors?
Okay, as somebody who loves branding and marketing, I'm going to say underrated.
Okay.
I think that we've taken a huge shift in the last few years into digital format, and there's almost like there's not many people doing print well now. So, and I think we're going to see more and more of that as we come up, and less and less people are door knocking, less and less people are cold calling. I think these things will all start to kind of come back as more of a niched agent style. And I think print marketing is a good way to go as well. Like, eventually, there's not going to be many people doing newspaper articles. I mean, even still, there isn't really. But, I think it's important to go where their attention is. And if there's nobody doing calendars and you do calendars, then they're more likely to keep your calendar.
I like it. If it provides value for someone, if people are putting it on their fridges, then do it. Better be your face than another person's.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to hit you with a non-real estate related one.
Okay.
Just for a bit of fun. Gnocchi. Overrated or underrated?
You know my feelings on this because we share the passion of gnocchi together. We both love it. Gnocchi is underrated. No matter who you're asking, it's underrated. You can make gnocchi in so many different ways. You can also make sweet potato gnocchi, ricotta gnocchi. You can do so much with the gnocchi and have it in different ways. And if you find the right stuff, because we had all gone out as a team together, half of us got gnocchi, and the gnocchi was like pillows. I could describe gnocchi forever.
Oh, it was unreal.
It was so good. So yeah, underrated. Love gnocchi. Now I'm hungry for it. Thanks, Ryan.
Me too. Meet you at Scatterbush.
Okay, let's go with virtual brokerages. Overrated or underrated?
I'm going to say right now it is underrated. For now, until everybody else catches up. But right now, I see a virtual brokerage, and I mean, we're a little biased because we're with one, but we still have a very traditional mindset when we come into it because, you know, we still like the idea of having an office space, but using it for a different purpose. And that's where I think cloud-based with what we're doing is really, really cool because we have the option to do what we want that we think will make our business more successful. We're not forced into, you know, the one office that the brokerage has, and we can either work from home or not. We get to do it however we like. If we want to open up a cool office building, we can. And I think that's a pretty awesome thing to do. But if we don't want to and we function very well through Zoom and everything like that, then that's great too. But I think it is definitely a time saver. And as you said earlier, time is money.
Yeah, you make a good point. You can have one or not. And I think traditional offices are really big. They're big for branding, right? Because you usually would bring somebody to the office. But now, a lot of agents, especially with COVID, we're not ever using the office. We're not going there for training. We're not going there to print paperwork anymore. I never go to my office. So I didn't find a use for it. And I'm not going to pay for a use that I'm not using. However, I do want an office to have like a place where we could all congregate, right? Not even with clients, but be really productive together and also have fun and do our TikToks and our reels and all our social media. So I have a specific room for that. I think being around people is really important in this industry. So that collaboration piece is why I would get an office. Other than that, like as realtors, we're doing deals on the road. We're at clients' houses. We're hitting up like a lunch spot. If we can make time for lunch, we'll do an offer there. So kill two birds with one stone. So I agree with you on that. It's a little bit overrated for physical offices.
Yep. And I think there's going to be a little bit of a shift in what office space can be used for. Because right now it's kind of like if you walk into a Remax, a Century 21, whatever it might be, you've got all these little cubicles. Agents have their little boxes where they can bring clients or they just sit there and work on their own. I think, you know, these co-working spaces for these modern style teams is going to be huge and more of a studio space to create content and work collaboratively, like you said. So, yeah, I think overrated for its current use, underrated for what we could be using it for.
Actually, I really liked what you said about being productive. If you can be productive on Zoom, that's huge. I like how you touched on that because we're still having multiple calls a week, right? And collaborating and podcasting. Everything's happening virtually. And I actually feel I feel a lot more close to my virtual team than I did my physical office team, which is crazy to say, but it's the truth.
Overrated, underrated. Facebook for businesses.
Facebook for businesses? What do you mean?
Like having a Facebook business page.
Oh.
How good is it? Is it overrated or is it underrated?
Overrated. That's my opinion. Ooh. I'd rather have Instagram, Google, website. Facebook to me is, and that's just my opinion. And so for any of the platforms that I don't focus on, I just don't use as much. But I did, when I first started in the business, I did everything. And then I looked at my insights and felt what's really working with me. Then I zoned in on the ones that were, so I could use my time wisely. So my opinion is it's overrated. They also have changed the reviews. You can't really put reviews on there. So like it doesn't really allow a business to really get themselves out there in the best way. So
Agreed.
sorry, Facebook.
I 100% agree. And I've noticed since starting in real estate, like Facebook, even though I may still post the same amount of content on there as my other platforms, just doesn't get the same reach. Like they very, very much want you to pay to push all your stuff out there, and you can end up in a bottomless pit of money if that's all you're using, right?
On the topic of social media, I'll hit you up with YouTube for business growth.
Underrated, 100%. So freaking underrated. I'm just discovering this because I'm actually consistently posting now, but YouTube is so underrated. There's so much of a gap in there for people, whether you're in real estate or whether you're another type of business. Like, think about it this way. If you just opened up a florist, you sell flowers for a living, right? How many other florists do you think are on there showing people how to do flower arrangements?
True. Yeah.
Right? And if you can get discovered on there by somebody in your area who's like, wow, that was really great, and now you're their top of mind for flowers. So if they have a wedding, whatever it might be, boom, you're going to be top of mind because you've brought value to them and they're going to remember that. And I think especially in real estate, there's such a big door that is open there because so many agents are scared to get on video. And I think I don't think it's going to be kind of taken over at any point because there's just, people just hate being on camera. So if you can get comfortable and do it and bring value, we've seen some huge successes with other people in our group, right?
It's a big obstacle for people is kind of getting on video and then even just action taking on it. So I think the other thing I would contribute to that is YouTube, owned by Google, very searchable. So whether someone is searching on Google for a specific business, the YouTube links will come up and makes your business more exposed to someone who just might be looking, for a website. So it pushes people into a platform where also they can get to know you, they can engage with you better, and you can really showcase your products and services in a different way and provide information in a more warm way than something cold like a website. So, yeah.
Coming at you hot, reading real estate books. Overrated or underrated?
Oh, are you asking me because I read and you don't?
Yes, and I don't. Am I missing out?
I mean, reading to me is learning. So if you're reading or listening to an audiobook, which I know you do audios and podcasts, then learning is underrated. Picking up a book, I like it because I like to highlight, I like to leave tabs. Is it easier to read a hard copy book? No, for me it's not. So I would rather listen to an audio. However, I will say it's underrated because it is nice having a physical copy. And when you're looking at a book versus listening to an audio, if you're listening to an audio, you might be doing other things in the background. So you're not dedicated on that book, on that chapter, on that verbiage. So yes, underrated for a physical book because I feel like your attention may go to other places and you're not really soaking up the information in that physical copy book.
Good points. But I also think it depends on how you learn too, right? Because as you said before, I don't really read, and that is not because I don't want to. It's because I can't focus. My brain is going all over the place when I'm reading. I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about other things. I'll get to the bottom of a page and I'm like, I don't know what I just read. Words went through my eyes, but they didn't come into my brain.
And you called me a squirrel.
Literally, it's just not the way I learn. I learn by doing and I learn by watching. So like for me, physically reading, not the best. I think if I'm driving and I have an audiobook playing, that's probably more likely. And I do learn a lot from listening to other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
So that might be something I try is to dive into the audiobooks more. But yeah.
This one can be an exciting one. You may not see it often. Overrated or underrated elevators in homes. What's funny?
Oh. Well, I think it's funny because we were just on a call the other day and one of the guys in our group did a video in an elevator, which he was like, I don't know why, but this thing just blew up. And it's just funny because people seem to be intrigued by elevators in homes, like especially if you've got like a 3-story townhouse and it has an elevator, like that could be seen as like a luxury item.
Yeah, you may never use it, but it's a luxury item.
I think it's overrated for most people. I think, we need to learn to use the stairs a little more. But to the right person who has accessibility needs, sure, an elevator is going to be invaluable to you and completely underrated. But for the most part, elevators, overrated. They're just a waste of space. They take up too much square footage for me.
I would agree.
Okay, next one coming at you. Overrated or underrated? Going from a real estate agent to a real estate broker and getting your broker's license. What do you think?
I would say overrated, because getting your broker's license, I mean, it allows you to open up an independent office if you want to do that. But I notice a lot of agents do it. It doesn't increase your pay, right? They do it to get it as a title, to say, "Ooh, I'm a broker." But that doesn't define you as doing more business or being a better realtor, being more ethical, providing better service and value. It doesn't do that. It's just a title. And it permits you, that license permits you to become independent if you want to leave your office. So I'm a fan of leaving the experts to the knowledge. And, I was going to get my broker's license and sub-broker from my last office. However, I now have an office that deals with the operations for me. You still need a broker of record if you're a broker. So, yeah. And I'm able to feel independent from my office while still growing a group of individuals and collaborating with them. So I would say overrated. All right, Ryan. This one is specific to you.
Ooh.
Overrated or underrated starting your day at 5 a.m.?
What do you mean it's specific to me? Because I sleep in a little bit? Okay.
Well, you know my days and you know your days.
Yeah. No, I think to the right person, it's very underrated. To me, overrated. I have tried being a morning person before, and I'm just not as productive as I am at night. I'm a night owl, so I get shit done between the hours of 8 p.m. and midnight. Don't know why, but that's just how I work. I think it might be maybe like a permanent jet lag that I have from moving over here. So
Permanent.
It's a permanent jet lag. I work better at night. I get shit done because there's no distractions, and I don't know. That's just for me, but I definitely think there are a lot of people that really thrive getting up early and just like, boom, out of bed to the gym. The day has started, and then by like 7 p.m. you're already fired away.
Yeah, you're right. It depends on the person. But I will say I used to be a night owl. And I thought, I'm so productive, stay up till 2 a.m., get everything done. That's when my energy would be. But now, when I started trying it last year, it's a big commitment. It means going to bed early. However, it's like the world is shut off. And when you start your day, that's the biggest thing for me, why ending it right and starting it right is better for me, is more underrated. So starting your day off right is huge because it sets the tone for your day. So that's why I love it, and it works to make the rest of my day better. But you're right. No matter when you're productive, go for it. But I think it's underrated for me because a lot of people can't do it, and then they just don't realize how nice it actually feels. So when you get that feeling, I thought it would be near impossible to do. And then do it a couple times, feel super good about yourself and everything you accomplished in the first 3-4 hours of the day while people are still sleeping, you're feeling ahead of the game.
Okay, my next one for you, Daniella. Podcasting.
I was going to ask you
underrated?
that.
Beat you to it.
It's on my list. Podcasting, underrated. Making content like this is not easy to do, and people can listen to it in many different ways, right? Especially driving, especially at home. I feel like a lot of people have time, and a lot of people are listening to audio and podcasts now. So I think it's underrated.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think it's underrated from a creation perspective. I think it is becoming a more saturated area. Like since we've started, I've been seeing a lot of other real estate podcasts that I didn't know existed. But I think it is, it's getting slightly more saturated, but at the same time, like, it's a great tool to use to get yourself talking and to put yourself out there a bit more, force yourself to do like a bit of research if you're providing information. So yeah, I would agree it's underrated from a creation perspective. I think from a listening perspective, it's becoming slightly more saturated, and but you can still learn a lot.
Nice. Well said. All right. Rental items in a house. Overrated or underrated?
Rental items, like, you mean a
furnace,
like a rental furnace,
hot water tank. Boom. paying rent, monthly maintenance, or like monthly fees, or own it?
I think it's neutrally rated. I think there are certain companies that you want to avoid renting from, and you're just going to end up with a piece of garbage that you're going to have all sorts of issues from. I think you probably got a bit of an opinion on this. I don't know if your heating systems are rental or not, but personally, like we own our furnace outright, and that's fine. It's probably got a couple years left, and we can expect to have to replace it at some point in the near future. But yeah, I think I like to have things owned. I don't have extra monthly expenses. That's nice. But again, some people are fine to pay the extra monthly expenses and have a brand new one replace it when it comes. So
yeah, some people don't want that extra $40 to $60 fee a month. However, you're not putting a big chunk down to pay for that. And you get the servicing in between. So I think it's underrated. Rental items, getting that maintenance, especially, you said it so right. And yes, I am dealing with a hot water tank. That is a newer technology that is failing on me. And if I had to call, I already had to make 3 service calls this week. And if I had to do that so many times owning it, that would cost me much more, I think, in the long run. So I'm not too happy with my people, but I'm liking the rental ability of it because they're there when I need them.
fair enough. That's
Not
awesome.
out of pocket.
Okay. Airbnb as an investment property.
I love it.
Underrated or overrated?
I love it. Underrated. You can rent. You can even have a residential property in the city and Airbnb that where we're allowed. And people who are Airbnb-ing them are getting far more rent than they would from a tenant and not falling under the Tenancy Act, where tenants have a lot of say and protection. So underrated 100%, whether it's something in residential or cottage or abroad, underrated.
Yep. And with the Tenant Landlord Act that we have to follow here in Ontario, it's insane what landlords have to deal with just to, break even basically. And then there's so many things that could go wrong. And if a tenant stops paying, you still have to pay your mortgage, but that tenant stays there until they're ordered out, right? So it's a risky business getting into long-term rentals, and short-term rentals are proving to be very profitable for a lot of people.
So profitable. Even people are renting it outside of Airbnb, and it's providing them double digits on their investment. So
Yep.
yeah, love it. I'm all for it. I want to ask you, my final question is, collaborating with other realtors, over or underrated?
So overrated. Everybody's competition. I just want to have all the money and all the business to myself. Okay? No, but I mean, like, that kind of plays into what I was making fun of is the traditional mindset in real estate is everybody's competition. If you're an agent, like, even if you're in the same office, if somebody's asking you for help, there's very few out there that are actually going to take the time out of their day to help somebody else with their business if they're in the same market. And I think, it's very underrated that we all collaborate. There's enough business out there for everybody, and those who collaborate and do better and help each other improve their businesses are going to win in the long run because they're getting so much more experience from other people, and it might be from other market centers. So yeah, underrated. I think we should all be working together. We do better by our clients that way. If we're collaborating with another group of people, just like on our call this morning, there are so many listings coming up that we wouldn't otherwise know about if we were all sticking to ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And from a business standpoint and also supporting other people, there's enough pie for all of us. So I'm all for it. And it makes the job, the career, more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
And that's a wrap for Over and Underrated. First time we've played it. First time we played that segment on the podcast. I had a lot of fun. I got to know your opinion on stuff. It was really enlightening to even share mine. And I'm sure everybody else has a different say, and we'd love to hear it. So if you have comments you want to leave about your opinion on some of the overrated, underrated stuff, drop them in the chat. Or on our page, and let us know what you feel, because we love seeing what you guys write to us, and we love hearing that feedback. So I look forward to seeing some of that out there. And that's a wrap for episode 5. Ryan, you want to close us off?
Absolutely. So guys, as always, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, as well as the full video version on YouTube. So make sure you are subscribed, hit the bell so that you're notified whenever a new episode comes out. We do a new episode every single week. And if you would like to book a one-on-one conversation with either of us, whether an agent, buyer, seller, whatever it might be, you can do so in the description below on the YouTube channel. So thanks for coming again, guys. It's been awesome. This was a great episode, and we'll see you in the next one.
Always fun. Bye, guys.
Bye.